The attitude of the public towards authority figures has also changed. We have been lied to so often by authority figures, whether they're academics, whether they're big corporations, whether they're governments, whether they're religious figures. We've been lied to so often by them that there is rightly and properly a deep skepticism towards argument from authority. If an individual says, I have the authority and I just know what the facts are, people don't believe that anymore, and that's healthy.
So people need to see how they're being played, and they need to put down all this divisionist programming. They really do. And it's really gotten to a ridiculous degree lately. It really has. The amount of infighting. The flat earthers and the globe earthers just cannot stop going at each other's throats. And the interesting thing about the globe earth and flat earth debate is that according to both parties, you must take a side. And that's the thing. You can't believe, like I do, that it's an electrical universe. You have to believe that it's either a globe or that it's flat. And personally, if you're someone like me who really has an objective mind and can't find enough information to satisfy my curiosity either way, then you become an enemy of both camps. And the flat earthers attack you and the globe earthers attack you simply because you will not take a side. And that has been an incredibly polarizing movement, and it has been such a clever play. And again, it isn't about whether the earth is flat or whether it's a globe. It's about how the movement is being played and the division that it's creating. And very deliberate with a lot of the players in the flat earth movement. They go out of their way to create as much division as possible. And that's very counterproductive, folks. But there's a lot of plays like this going on at the moment. But again, being objective about it, you have to look at it and say, well, it isn't just the flat earthers that are doing that. It's also the globe earthers that are going out of their way to create division with them and the flat earthers. Neither one will respect each other's research, and very often neither camp is actually prepared to do any real research. The flight from Sydney to Santiago that I documented a few weeks ago, just to clear up a bit of noise on the issue, is a perfect example of that when you look at the responses I got for daring to make that flight that some people claim doesn't exist. And again, this was made by a person such as myself who's on the fence, who doesn't have an opinion either way, and simply wants to clear up a little bit of noise to try to stop some of the arguments. And the animosity and response and personal attacks I got for daring to make that flight just indicates how little people are prepared to look at things objectively. People get a polarized idea, they focus on it, and they are simply not open to debate from that point. And it's a very unfortunate thing because we're seeing it on both sides of the fence. And again, the one common ground, the one common factor that you see with all of these mechanisms is the enormous amount of hatred and division and animosity that comes in the debates. People simply aren't prepared to discuss things with each other anymore. They have an idea, they have a focus, they've made up their mind already before they even start the debate, and so it turns into a screaming match. This is very much the way it is on both sides of the camp with the flat earth, globe earth debate. Everybody thinks everybody who thinks differently to them is an idiot, and they have no problems in saying so. And even if you are someone who doesn't agree with either theory, then they attack you as well. It's just the way the movement has been constructed, and I believe it's come out at a very, very crucial time simply to create the division that it's created, because as we can see, since this movement started, the police state has just ramped up to a ridiculous degree. Things have gotten out of control in just about all of our countries in the last 12 months. And it's very, very difficult to unite anybody in any sort of coordinated response to this system because too many people are concerned with infighting. Too many people are wasting time in these tit-for-tat online exchanges, and they're not actually dealing with the world around them. I've had people attacking me, folks probably expecting a response from me, and it just gets boring and lame after a while. But there's so many people that are attacking everybody they can find in order to generate responses so that the activists who are actually dealing with the system have to turn and fend off all of this rubbish that's going on around them and waste their energy battling amongst their peers, when really we should all be focused on the system that is unfolding and this criminal cabal, this cacostocracy of racketeers that is running all of our governments. We need to stop these people from doing what they're doing, folks. We need to take this matter in hand and stop the ship of state from sailing off the cliff the way it's going. We need to regain control of this world. Rather than arguing about what shape it is, we need to actually establish some freedom to find out what shape it is, and then we'll have something to go on. But until then, we're just sitting here squabbling while the walls are being built around us, and it's really gotten to a ridiculous degree. You know, I really believe this is an energetic universe, ladies and gentlemen. I really do. It's about the energetic state that we're in, and when we have these debates that get heated and get ugly, and we start calling each other names, and we don't respect each other's views, this plays right into the hands of the system. It puts you in the wrong energy, and it manifests the wrong energy around you. Therefore, this is what you're projecting into the field, and this is what the field is projecting back to you. The field is projecting back division and animosity and hatred and all of the things we're experiencing. People who claim to be spiritually aware and then go out of their way to attack others are not spiritually aware, they are spiritually bankrupt. They are lost in false ego. And this is what we are seeing in so much of the movement now, and it simply has to stop. If we're going to find a way out of this mess, we have to stop and put ourselves back into the correct energetic state, and that means respecting all views and all opinions. You know, if we can't learn to do that first and foremost, then we're simply never going to get anywhere. That has to be the first thing we do, is put down all our stuff with each other. I know I've been beating this drum for like 8 years on this radio show, but really, it's what we have to do. Without that respect, we're defeated before we've begun in any type of change that we wish to bring about in this world. And don't follow leaders, folks. Don't follow self-appointed gurus. Certainly don't do that. Don't follow me. I've been saying this for years. Don't follow me. All I'm offering you is an opinion. I'm just a guy like you. I'm not anything special. So don't follow me. Follow your own heart. Listen to what is said. Look at what's going on around you. Analyze information that's given to you. Don't be so hasty to want to believe anything. Simply look at it and remain objective, and don't have any stake in the outcome of any particular side of the information becoming true or false. Just look at it, put it on the table, and see where it leads you. That's the real way investigation should be conducted. And when people ask questions, respect the questions that they ask. Let people ask questions. That's how people learn. If they're not allowed to ask questions and people are expected to simply accept things at face value, and people who presented the information arc up and get abusive when the questions are brought up, well, then they are very insecure in the information they're bringing you, and you should ask these questions about all information that you're delivered. And when looking at the alternative media and looking at what's going on and looking at who is bringing you information, it's very important that you understand that each person who is bringing you information is offering you their perspective on the information that they have managed to get hold of and their interpretation of that information. There are no gurus. The guru is you. You are your own guru, your own salvation. You and what is in your heart is what will lead you out of this mess if you are prepared to stand in that. There are no gurus, folks. Be very, very wary of anybody claiming to have found the way or found the key or saying, you should follow me, I will lead you to safety. These people are snakes in the grass, folks, because the only person who can lead you to safety is yourself. But you've got to be prepared to open your heart, and you've got to be prepared to, as I said, not be too concerned with the outcome of any type of information that's brought to you. Don't have any stake in something being true or false. Just look at it and let the cards fall where they may. And keep an open mind, folks. Keep an open mind in everything that is brought to you. But always be prepared to look at it from both sides. Never lock yourself into a belief system, because belief is the enemy of knowledge. I've said that before. When you choose to believe something, it limits your chance of gaining any further knowledge on the topic should something come along which interferes with that belief system, regardless of how true or false it may be. So be very careful of belief, ladies and gentlemen. In fact, really, when you look at so much of the infighting that occurs in the independent media, it's usually based on people's belief systems. It's based on what people choose to believe, the way they have locked themselves into that belief, and their unwillingness to look at anything from any other perspective once that belief has come online for them. You know, many people see these beliefs as some sort of salvation for themselves, I suppose. It's something that answers questions for them and gives them what they believe to be a way out, and so they latch onto it and they clutch it and they won't let anything get in the way of it. But really it is counterproductive to think that way, folks. You've always got to keep an open mind on every topic. Stand up and we can get through it, you know?
Absolutely. It's all about divide and conquer, but Max, I've got to say, I can't unite with anybody that doesn't believe that the Earth isn't a giant hamster ball spinning around and there's a hamster inside of it on the back of a turtle and whatever other ridiculous thing I can think of. We'll be right back. We're speaking with Max Igan, and Max, this is definitely the time that we have to put all division and separation to the side and see it the way that they see it. These parasites see it as us versus them. They don't see any division. They don't see any class either. They see us versus them. If you're not in the club, then you're cattle, and it's simple as that. And I kind of allude... Oh, go ahead.
No, go on. No, it is like that, and that's the problem. Is that people often, when they approach politicians, is they try to appeal to their better judgment or their better side or their conscience or whatever. They've got to understand they're dealing with psychopaths. These people have no conscience, and you can't ever appeal to their better side. There's an agenda, and they're going to push it through regardless of what you do or say.
Right. You're absolutely right. And I was alluding to the Flat Earth Psy-Op, which at first, I mean, let me just preface it by saying this, that I think that some of the arguments the Flat Earthers make are very legitimate. But you were one of the first ones to point it out, that this is a way to divide people. And sure enough, I've seen some of the most brilliant minds just completely lose themselves and just go off on a complete deep end because of this Flat Earth topic. How do we undo the damage, the divisive damage that's been done? Any thoughts on that?
Look, this is something that actually, again, I attempted to address on the previous show. You know, it's for people to understand that it's about energy. It's about energy exchanges. And to understand that belief is the enemy of knowledge. I can't stress this enough. You know, this journey through life is a path to knowledge. It's a search for knowledge, quest for knowledge. And when you lock yourself into a belief, that belief prevents your moving further along on your path for knowledge, because you may come across information which interferes with the belief system you've put in place. So be careful what you believe in anything. You know, as far as the Flat Earth thing goes, I truly believe, I've done whole films about it and I've spoken about it since the very beginning. I believe this to be an electrical, energetic universe, an energetic reality, regardless of the shape. I think it's a pathway of human consciousness. It's about human creative potential regardless of the shape.
I agree.
As far as the Flat Earth thing goes, like you say, there's a lot of information that they put forth which is quite valid, and I can see why people would latch onto the concept of the Earth is flat. I mean, I've looked at it, and I'm quite open to the idea. I get accused of being a glober and all this sort of stuff. You know, I'm not. I don't have enough information. I can't find anything that can leave me 100% without question on the topic of whether the Earth is flat or whether the Earth is a globe. You know, I can look at it and I can say, okay, one thing I can establish is that we have been lied to on just about every single level that you can think of. That's one thing that I know. But the problem I find with the Flat Earth debate, and the reason I haven't, I keep getting these emails that I need to go on Globebusters and all this sort of stuff. I don't even know what that is, but I don't know, I've never been asked on. But why I don't go and debate this topic with anyone, the problem that I find with it is that there's a certain amount of dogma with the Flat Earth question. People get this belief system and they lay down a definite and say, this is the way it is, the Earth is flat. And I look at it and I say, well, I can say there's a possibility that it may be, but there's also a possibility that it may be a globe, because for myself, having a very analytical mind, I cannot be 100% without question on either way. You know, I mean, I really think this is all holographic anyway.
Right.
You know, I really do. But the problem with the Flat Earth debate is that people lay down ultimatums all the time, and they get very, very defensive about their belief system that they've established. You know, I can find questions with every single proof that I'm given about Flat Earth, and the problem that I have is that I can't enter into a Flat Earth debate and ask any of those questions. And I think they're legitimate questions. And by asking questions, I'm not saying, oh no, the Earth is a globe and I'm trying to defend the globe. I'm simply saying, well, look, I've got a problem with what you've offered me as evidence. I can see that there may be another way of looking at it, because there's always different ways of looking at things. And the problem is that I'm not able to ask those questions, because as soon as you ask a question, you get called a shill, or a disinformationist, or they insult you, or call you an idiot, or whatever. It's just ridiculous. And how can you enter into a field of research where you're not allowed to ask questions?
Well, that was my experience. That was my experience too, Max. I didn't mean to cut you off, but that's why I brought it up, because I have my own view on it, and when I presented my own view, you're a shill, you're a moron, you're this, you're that, and it's like, hey, I don't have to agree with you. This isn't a cult. Simple as that. It was a fun topic to talk about, but in hindsight, when the smoke cleared, I do see how it divided everybody, and it's such a shame.
Well, it is, and I called this in like, I think it was April last year, I put out a show called A Plea for Sanity, which was, and I mentioned the Flat Earth debate, and it was the first time I'd ever mentioned it, and I just said, look, just be careful of how this is being played, because this is being played as a psy-op, as a divide and conquer mechanism. And then a few months later, I put out that show called Dealing with Cacostocracy and the Flat Earth Psy-Op, and I got so much flack for that show from the Flat Earthers, and because, it's not a psy-op, it's not a psy-op. And I'm saying, look, do you understand what a psy-op is? I asked every one of them who was attacking me and insulting me, do you understand the meaning of a psy-op? Are you saying that by me naming this as the Flat Earth psy-op that I'm saying the Earth is a globe? Because that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that the movement is being played as a divisionist psy-op. Just look at the fact that you are here attacking me for even suggesting that. And the fact that we're all at loggerheads with each other, and now the community has divided into those who believe the Earth is a globe and those who believe the Earth is flat. And everyone's calling everybody else a shill. Everyone's totally locked into their idea and think anybody who disagrees with them is an idiot, and they have no problem in saying so. And it's just divided the entire community. And for someone like me, who, like I said, I cannot find 100% proof either way. Either way, I don't believe a thing they've told us, like NASA or science or any of this stuff. I don't believe a word of it. But I also have questions with what I'm being presented with the Flat Earth model. I just do. I have questions regarding the information we're given for curvature and all of this sort of stuff. I have questions about the photos we see of the hot spot on the clouds and all sorts of things. I have questions, and I think these are valid questions. And the fact that I'm not allowed to ask these questions is a problem for me, And when I did that flight across the Southern Ocean from Sydney to Santiago, I did that flight simply to clear up the noise, because I could see all sorts of people arguing over this, saying, hey, look, this is a flight that I take 2 or 3 times a year, and it's a flight that runs twice a week from the country that I live in. I mean, I know this flight is real. There's no question that this flight is real. It's a direct flight, flies across the Southern Ocean from Sydney to Santiago. The allotted time is 12.5 hours. It usually does it in 11.5. And okay, so if this is not workable on your Flat Earth model, then your Flat Earth model's wrong. And that's as simple as that. And I can't help that. And that doesn't mean I'm a glober. It's just the way the flight works, and I do it all the time. But, having said that, I mean, there's severe problems with the models that we're given. I've got severe problems with the moon. I've got severe problems with the sun and the distance of the sun. I've got severe problems with the eclipses. I don't agree with what we're told about gravity. But, these concepts, gravity doesn't exist. Well, hang on. Gravity is a word that is used to describe the fact that things have weight. When they fall to the ground, it hits the ground. You let go of something that falls to the ground and hits the ground. The question is, what causes that? What causes gravity? Gravity is a word. You can call it whatever you want. Call it marzipan, call it chocolate, call it whatever you want. It's just a word. So, gravity exists because things hit the ground. It's what causes gravity is the question. Do I believe it's because we're spinning on a ball? No, I don't. That's ridiculous. I think it's electromagnetic. I think it's like what Tesla said. I think the whole universe is electromagnetic.
I'm right there with you, and that's the perspective that I come from. That's the perspective that I come from. Is it's all a hologram, anyways. So it's whatever the observer sees it as. But there is something very, very real taking place right now, and that's on the geopolitical spectrum. We'll be right back.
Anyhow, this episode that I'm coming out of the gate here with, I talked with CD Channel. That's CEEDEE. And Chris over at CD Channel is stepping up, and maybe he's the third generation away from Bill Bryson, who got me started by watching his channel. Chris is now producing video at a very high level. The quality is every bit as good as mine, and he's streaming live, so he's actually making available his 8-inch telescope for real-time live views of the moon for people who just, you know, can't do it on their own or live in a place where they can or can't afford it, whatever the case may be. We talk about, when we come out of the gate, we talk about equipment, the best brands of scope, how we're doing this, how you can do it. We talk about death. We talk about the lunar wave. We talk about NASA and the fraud that NASA has been committing. We talk about false flags. We talk about just about everything under the sun, even the flat Earth and the electric universe. And one of the cool things about this episode is Chris and I don't see eye to eye on a number of these topics, but I think it's important to point out, just because we don't see eye to eye, there's no reason that we can't find common ground, understand that we're working towards a common goal, and work together. So here it comes, man. Episode 1 of Crow 777 Radio. Here we go.
I'm really tempted to. So what I would say about the drama and all the flat Earth and the concave Earth is try and come together on the science. That's it. Try and come together on real science of it. And if you don't think that the science that you've been given is the truth, start redefining it. Don't say it's all fake and don't do anything about it. Like Buckminster Fuller said, don't try and fix a broken system, build a new one to replace it. And that's a great, simple quote, or whatever. I kind of paraphrased it.
I think that's the important thing. You know, I don't agree with most of science these days, not because I'm anti-science, but because of the way the system is constructed and the religion it's become. And not only that, all the falsehoods that have been accepted as foundational, usable things. My point would be, very close to what you just said, is that all these communities should understand that at the base of things, we're all doing the same thing. We are challenging what we view to be an incorrect description or system that we've been handed. So there's really no reason to be at odds with each other, because a person who steps into a room to contribute what they think they found or what might further the conversation is doing a sight, you know, quite a bit more than anyone else who's going to be there to tell them they're an idiot or a shill or a mason or any other thing. Because the point is, if what that person says has merit, it will probably grow legs and be around for a while. But anyhow,